Faith and practice. I mean, it seems like there could be other more lively reads. There's a lot of faith and practice that's very textbook, manual. You know, it's just like our actual practice and procedure for certain things like weddings and funerals, and what are the rules. and it's interesting, but it's not exactly fiction. It's good to read Quaker writers. Get on PYM's website. Philadelphia Yearly Meetings website is just an absolutely excellent resource for resources abounding. What to read, articles that are posted there, what's happening right now and where. I can't think of a group of more awesome people and more resourceful people. I'll give you all kinds of good suggestions.
Definitely. Friends, the Quaker Manual, Faith and Practice, that we all read.
Whoa. I think the most interesting thing in books for Quakers is to read about famous Quakers. One being Alice Paul, for example. And having been a member of the Alice Paul chapter of the National Organization for Women for many years, and you know, I've been involved with the Alice Paul House and just reading some of her biography, and it's very meaningful, I think, to learn about these people.
Yes. I found a book called, the title of which was The People Called Quakers by D. Elton Trueblood. It's very readable and answers a lot of questions, and I think it's great. I've also read The Apology by Robert Barclay. Now that is a, let me get my math right here, 300 years old, okay, or more. And it's written in a certain style, but it is in modern translation. And it talks about Quaker values, Quaker beliefs, Quaker practices. It's in a very good way. I would not read George Fox's journal beyond the first 50 pages. It's always on the recommended list. Anyone's time would be spent better in some other direction. Read Elton Trueblood.
Wow. Worship is a different experience almost every time I come, for me. Sometimes I just go into my old transcendental meditation practice. Sometimes, but what it really does is it forces me to feel more peaceful, because it is very quiet, and just a chance to either reflect on things. Almost always some piece of music comes to mind when I'm sitting in worship. It just comes out of the blue from somewhere, I don't know. So different worship times I have different reactions to.
I think worship is, for me, the joy, the celebration, the elation of feeling the world got to stop for a minute so you could sit and listen for what's most important and what's resounding with your group of friends who are doing the same. And or you're by yourself even, but it's just like in meeting, when there's many other people sitting, listening quietly together for something to move them. It may move them to joy, it may move them in anger, it may move them in sadness. I usually have trouble not welling up when I feel moved, but they're usually tears of joy, and that's worship. They're tears of worship. Uh, tears of connectivity and joy for being connected.
I know to many people, worship is it's just a rest, and they will admit that. It's people say it's time to recharge batteries, but it's also a time to thrash things out in your own mind and be open to other things. Sometimes, as I sit in meaningful worship, well, I will say often, my mind will wander, because that's what human beings' minds do. We wander. Then I'll say, wait a minute, why am I here? I'm here for a certain reason. And I'll try to focus on something. I'll try to focus on, the slightest thing I can think of that's almost imaginary, and keep focused on that. And then, too many times for it to be a coincidence, somebody else in the room will stand up and say something, and it is precisely the one thing that I need to hear in that moment. And it is not, I cannot believe that it's coincidence, because it happens too often. So I think in worship for me is being open to other friends, other people's experience in the same realm that I'm dealing with, the experience of God, how they get that, how they experience it, and how they share it. And of course, you're talking about something which is very ethereal sometimes. So the words that people use, well, you can't depend too much upon the words that they use. You have to look kind of beyond the words and to there's some theological mathematics behind all that. You want to try to find that and latch onto. That's worship. I made that sound really difficult.
It means a lot to me. I've come here troubled and roiled up and full of anxiety and full of fears and worries. And when I come in, when we have our discussion groups, sometimes they can come out and we can hear other people share theirs. And when I come into silent worship, I feel, especially in this particular setting, because I feel the weight of 300 years of other friends who came here with their worries and their fears and their sorrows and their hopes. And they sat here and they let it all settle. And they felt the peace and the help that comes from listening to the light within, being open to it, practicing through silent meditation.
I try to live my truth. I try to remind myself as I'm going through my life to treat others as I would want to be treated. I think that's one of the most important things. It's great that one thing that our meeting has been doing outside of Sunday worship, first day, is midweek worship, where we'll get together at each other's houses, and it'll be a rotating location, and have a potluck, but just sit with whomever can make it, to have worship in their living room or their dining space, whatever space they have. And it helps remind you that it is here every day. It's not just one day a week. And to connect with the community of friends in your meeting and other meetings on other occasions, just during the week and other activities, things like that. It reinforces the truth that you seek regularly on a Sunday. Keeping your life more whole true from every day, for every day of the week?
I don't think much about what I do as a personal practitioner of any kind of spiritual thing other than music. Music, because every time I sit down to play certain pieces on the piano, it's like being absorbed into some different world, and which makes me wonder how on earth this earth created people who could create such music. But and then when I go into my garden and I talk to bugs, I talk to snakes, I talk. So I guess that's my practice.
I try to practice certain things that I think about when I come to silent worship. I try to be less judgmental. I try to be less critical. We talk about certain things, like once another friend in meeting spoke about how easy it was to say negative things about other people, because we do vent as human beings. That's what we are. We're group and social animals. And so outside of meeting, I try to practice being more open-minded, less judgmental, more accepting of the flaws and the failures of others. And I try to think to myself, they would be better if they could. And I try to be better myself when I can.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could express it. The easy thing to do, of course, would be to say, well, I carry all those lofty goals and ideals into my everyday life the other 6 days of the week. That, of course, would be a contradiction, because I don't. And again, to me, it's not, well, I'm a Quaker, and therefore I have to do certain things. It's kind of the other way around. I do certain things, I feel a certain way, I have certain proclivities, and so I want to be here with these people who will help me reinforce that and bring those things that I feel deeply about into the open.
I don't think I would join any meeting until I had been to it a number of times and got to know some of the people and see how accepting people are to different ideas. I mean, because, everybody has a different path in life that has affected them, but I feel like the people are very important at a particular meeting. One of the things I would ask, I suppose, is, do people have to believe in the God of the Bible? Because if that's true, I might not belong.
Well, you should know that you can ask them about what time they do things, obviously. Different meetings will have slightly different orders to their worship or first day or childcare. You can ask them about that. Some meetings are programmed. If you happen to be in a location where their meeting may be programmed, it would be good to know. And those are practical questions. But beyond that, just like anybody else you'd like to become familiar with, if you're going to ask somebody, it's just like, so what do you guys like to do? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? It just like make yourself open to getting to know friends. And if there's a certain dynamic that you're seeking, when I was looking, I had a very young child, and I was really hoping to find a meeting where there would be other children that could connect with them. So that was one of my questions. It's just like, what is your presence of very young friends, and what's your first day of school like for them? But what are you looking for? Go ahead and ask. Don't be afraid. And don't worry that you have any kind of foolish question. Friends are very understanding, and they love to help. So do ask. Whatever you're seeking, look for it here, and hopefully you find it.
I think the only question I would ever ask is, will you accept me amongst yourselves and help me?
You know, there's that old thing that says you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. And I'm not so sure about that. I don't know if we actually choose our friends. I think if you're honest and look around at your circle of friends, you'll say, well, gee, this person should not be my friend, and yet that person is. I don't know how you would, I'm not sure how you would choose. I guess the easy answer would be, if someone had the time, would be to spend some time at this friends meeting, and then try to get a feel for the people, and then spend some time at another one. I had a choice when I decided to attend a Quaker meeting on Sunday. I said, well, I could go to this place, or I could go to that place up the road. And I don't know, this place seemed closer. I don't know if it was or not. So I came over here. And that's where I am. One more thing. No matter how good a fit is, someone fits into a meeting, someone fits into a church, someone fits into some worship group, it's never going to be perfect. And I've learned something, that you shouldn't you might find one particularly difficult person there. Don't let one person mess it up for you. Don't let one person spoil it. Okay? Just learn to roll with that. And if wherever you are is giving you the support and the sustenance that you need, again, don't let one obstreperous bully get in the way of all that.